Welcome to This Just In, the show bringing you the latest advancements in healthcare, strategy, innovation, and public policy. And now, for the fastest voice in healthcare, here's your host, Justin Barnes.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the special edition of This Just In Radio. I'm your host, Justin Barnes. Today, we're broadcasting live from the Health 2024 in sunny Las Vegas. For today, I have a fantastic lineup of CEOs, CIOs, care providers, policy leaders, and visionaries. As many of you know, my goal for broadcasting live each year from these key conferences is to create an information medium that shares best practices, strategies, and actionable intelligence from the industry's leading sources and experts. My goal, along with all my guests here, will be to offer tactics and strategies to not only survive, but to thrive as you navigate your hospital, your physician practice, your company, or even your family through all of these changes occurring across healthcare. There's more opportunity than ever before for all of us to thrive, but we must understand how healthcare is evolving, how policy and reimbursement is shifting, and where best practices and innovation can support our efforts. I hope you glean all of that over the next few days. That's at least my goal. Welcome back to This Just In Radio Show, broadcasting live from Health 2024 in sunny Las Vegas. I'm very excited to introduce my next guest and new friend of the show, Brian Mullen, Head of Innovation and Product at the Clinic by Cleveland Clinic. Welcome to the show, Brian.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it. It's great. So when did you get in town?
Sunday night, 12 p.m. local time from the East Coast.
Okay. I guess that's same here. I arrived about noon on Sunday local. I left Sarasota at 4 a.m. Well, I got up at 4 a.m., left at 6 a.m., wheels up at 6 a.m. So.
Yeah. Sunday night, I had 2 hours of sleep before I saw on the floor.
Oh, goodness gracious. So it's been an amazing few days, I assume, for you here?
Yeah, it's a lot, which is good.
Yeah. So what was your goal for coming to health here in Vegas?
For me personally, as head of innovation and product, I'm always just looking and curious for the accidental learning of what all the cool people are doing. I was in Mass Challenge for a previous startup, and I just remember, and this is very similar, where in those large accelerators, you get so many knowledgeable people in one place, you can't not learn something new.
Correct.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah. So I completely agree. It's actually one of the reasons I was just appointed to the CHAI, the Coalition for Health AI, board and work group, and just sitting and absorbing we had our first work group meetings on Sunday afternoon, and literally you can't help but learn a lot just by sitting and listening and absorbing. Basically osmosis, AI through osmosis. It's great. Before we dive into the questions, tell us about the clinic at the Cleveland Clinic. 'Cause I'm not quite sure that of that strategy and that platform that you guys are building there and overall. So
yeah, great, thank you. I think it's really cool and novel what we are. We're a joint venture between Cleveland Clinic and Amwell.
Okay.
Which, from an innovation standpoint, I was at Brigham and Women's digital innovation for a while, and hospital translation of innovation and things like that are always hard. You need a great spot to translate that out and really have the flexibility to bring it to market. Yep. So we focus on virtual second opinions right now so that people have access to Cleveland Clinic specialty. So when you have a second opinion, a lot of times that's a moment where you have a diagnosis that you really want to make sure is correct, and that you have the correct treatment plan or best treatment plan for you. And when you have that, getting a second opinion, I'm a big advocate for second opinions. Cancer, yes, cardiology, absolutely. MSK. Yeah. People make mistakes, but people just don't have all knowledge, right? So get a second opinion just has a ton of value in general. And we provide access to some of the world's best. And that's when value of information, knowledge, and that care. And we do that in a highly curated way because it matters to get the experience right as well. So it's a tough, challenging time for patients, and this is where I'm more passionate about. It's getting that access to the right information so you can make a great the right decision for you in a tough moment that is usually urgent and time pressing. So we know we have to hold your hand in that, and we do it virtually, but how do we make sure that you have that human touch along the way, and it's just not some other report that you get in a long series of stuff thrown at you along the healthcare way.
Yeah, I didn't 100% realize all that you guys are doing. So I have a personal story here I've never shared publicly. And I won't name names, but I am a huge proponent of second opinions because about 5 years ago, it wasn't life-altering. It was life-altering. I slept on my wrist wrong one night, and it took, I think after 6 weeks, I said, you know what, I need to have this looked at. It's not healing proper. It doesn't feel right. It's not right. I went to see a renowned orthopedic specialist from a renowned organization in the Southeast, and he said, did X-rays. He said, you need to have surgery basically immediately. I was like, he said, yeah, you have a hole in your bone. I'm like, how? He said, probably since birth, you had a hole in your wrist. I'm like, I had no clue. I have no problems. It just comes up sometimes. It's going to happen. It didn't sit well with me, and so I didn't get a second opinion. I'm like, God, it doesn't sound right, and it doesn't feel right to me. So I asked him for a cortisone shot. He actually gave me a cortisone shot. I was fine. That moving forward, I think within 2 days after that, I was fine. Never came back. No problems. I didn't need surgery. I'm pretty sure that organization was trying to boost me into surgery because it was a moneymaker for them. I've been fine. That was 4 years later. I do push-ups every single day. There's no issues with my wrist at all. That's where thankfully I didn't do surgery, but also that's a quality, that would have a massive quality of life. To have wrist surgery for me, I would never have who knows what had to happen with that. So I'm a big proponent.
And I think it's interesting. I have a stat of 85% of the cases that are surgically based don't require surgery. Yeah. And I love that we can be an independent, trusted, we don't manage your care. Right. The stake in the game isn't, we don't really have, have, of the healthcare system in that moment of giving a second opinion, we have the least stake in your game. So it's one of those things that it doesn't always get the biggest headline, right? But really high impact. And your story is there, and we have others about people getting told they need a heart transplant.
Exactly. No, that's
not needing one.
Exactly.
And you're like, wow.
Good for you. No, I love it. I love what you guys are doing. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're on air with me. You're going to be certainly a new good friend of the show. So looking across the industry, what progress are you most excited to see occurring in healthcare today?
I think we're figuring out virtual health. And I think where it fits. Yeah. Where is it right? It's not us versus them anymore. Right. I said during COVID, people asked me an opinion. It was like, this will be the first time that everyone's on the same playing field of understanding digital health, where it fits, where it doesn't work. Because before that, there was always the emerging technology and startups that were saying, use it, use it, use it. Mm-hmm. And you had the institutions going, I don't think it's going to solve my problem. Right. And now everyone's tried. Yep. And now with that, I think we're beyond the us versus them, that's some untested thing nobody knows about, to how do we fit this in moving towards where does the patient get it? So second opinions, you could be a mile from Cleveland Clinic, but still not want to have to sit through traffic, make the appointment, take the time off from work. Right. There's take it from home. Yep. Yeah. Why have all the extra hassle? It's true. And that's a perfect piece of the puzzle. And I think as you look at across this floor, everyone's starting to figure out where that right balance is. It's not us versus them anymore. From digital to virtual, it is we. Yeah. And how do we do it well?
Yeah, I think the only thing I'll add to that, I completely agree with you. I've probably gone the other side too far. I've been part of a private network for doctors for about 10 years now. So I have a personal doctor. We use telehealth. We've always used telehealth as our platform. However, he's in Atlanta, and I've now moved primarily to Sarasota, Florida. So I only do virtual visits now. My doctor's like, you need to come into the office, because now I'm going my second year for my annual physical. He's like, you can't keep doing this remotely. You need to get your butt in the office. So I'm on the other side where I've abused it too much. You need to see your doctor at least once or twice a year in person. But I'm a huge proponent of virtual care, telemedicine, but I've probably abused it too much. I'm going to try to see him in December. So it'll be 2.5 years since I've seen my doctor.
That's great, right? Yeah. That's exactly what I want. Why every 6 months, what are you going to do differently? Can I just send you my blood work? Right. That's really what I'm seeing. That's what you need to see. Yeah. But every now and again, you need that physical interaction to actually push on the thing and hear your lungs.
You got it. Right? Yeah, and that's the part where I probably pushed it too far the other side. So it's time for me to go up there. But completely, I love what you said there. So what about, what healthcare or digital health trends are you seeing in the industry? Obviously, virtual care is certainly one of them. And so what are your thoughts there?
I love, and you see it on this floor, seeing areas that would never have been on this floor 5 years ago. Food as medicine. Yes. Mental health. I was stopping by the booth. My startup, and when I studied in grad school, was designing products for people with mental illness in 2008. Nobody. Yep. I was by myself on an island. Yep. And now it's there, and it's accessible. And I think the trend there is really, we're starting to see in healthcare, seeing the whole person. Mm-hmm. It's not just the primary care physician or the surgeon or the specialist. It's, we understand food matters. Absolutely. Mental health matters. And again, it's how do we start to integrate those things at the right place, the right moment, the right time. And now we have a set of tools, because the digital health world has also matured.
Mm-hmm.
So there's platforms and tools and ways to start to fit those things in to be more seamless. We're not there yet. There's a lot further to go.
Absolutely.
Social determinants of health is being talked about, where that's still longer to go. But I think seeing in these things and where do you fit the right thing, like exactly virtual second opinions, where does that fit in to see that come in? So we're treating you as a person, understanding just because the doctor told you to do it.
Right.
How do we get a bigger 360 view of you so that you're making the best care decisions for you and getting solutions that fit into your life?
Yeah, I love it. And you don't know this, but my next guest is actually the FDA FDA commissioner for food for the FDA. So anyhow, food is medicine, and we got to take it seriously. So that's my next topic. So ironically, you bring that up. What are a couple best practices or strategies that you will share to help others navigate, that topic and those trends there?
I have always been a big fan of partnerships.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in healthcare, we have to partner to do it together.
Absolutely.
And we have to really understand what good partnerships are. I think the one that we have inherently in our company between Cleveland Clinic and Amwell, they're fantastic partners who bring strength to strength, quality, trust at that same level. It enables us to do what we do better. I don't have to spend as much time figuring out how to build and working with engineers because I have a trusted platform. We don't have to navigate some other challenges because Cleveland Clinic has it there and we have these great partnerships. I think as I look at the floor, I'm always looking, how do we partner first in a real strategic way? Yep. The second thing in that, and I've taught some classes along the way, and I think we need to really lean to systems thinking instead of design thinking. Design thinking gets you a discrete point, discrete limited, but we're inherently in a system of care. We need to, and one thing that we think about, and I think about a lot in our care delivery of the second opinion, is it has to work for the provider too. We've talked about provider burnout for way too long.
Right.
And part of it's because a lot's been designed not to help them.
Right.
They're being forced more and more to do stuff. So our providers, we survey them. They love what we do, but we're intentional about that in our system design. It's not just a great experience for the patient. It is a great experience for the patient. It's operationally well for us as a business because we have to survive. And third, we're really passionate about making sure the providers have a great interaction experience, or we're making second opinions easier for them to deliver. So they love being able to help patients. And we're a conduit to help them help more patients. Absolutely.
No, and I think you're spot on. I mean, we've pushed technology, we've pushed all these new care models on these providers. There's absolute burnout in the industry. A couple of my guests previously have talked about how, AI is certainly helping with some of that workflow, and that's absolutely going to be a benefit. But the way you're approaching it and the Cleveland Clinic is approaching it, I think is very wise because you're in partnerships and scaling and doing what you do best. Let the partners handle the technology like you're doing with Amwell, and then let Cleveland Clinic do what they do best, providing care strategy. I mean, you bring that together. That way you're not trying to create innovation and slowing yourself down on the care strategy side. You do what you do, let them do what they do. I absolutely love it. It's spot on. Brian Mullen, so good to have you on here today. Most certainly have you back, my friend.
Great. Thank you so much.
You got it, man. Thank you. Appreciate it. Excellent. Welcome back to This Justin Radio Show, broadcasting live from Health 2024 in sunny Las Vegas. I'm very excited to introduce my next guest and new friend of the show, Jim Jones, Deputy Commissioner for Human Foods, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, FDA. Welcome to the show, Jim.
Thank you.
Great to have you here. First of all, when I saw the opportunity, I jumped on it because food is medicine. I love what you're doing. You're the first commissioner, basically, to focus on this for the FDA?
I'm the first Deputy Commissioner for Human Foods at FDA.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, I take it very seriously. And Dr. Hyman's actually been a longtime friend of mine, and food is medicine, food is health. So, first of all, before we dive in, you spoke here just before this radio show. So tell me about that a little bit and some of the topics there that you covered.
Yeah, so I was talking about some of the public partnerships that we at FDA have ongoing to help promote good nutrition in the United States. And one of the areas that we're very keenly focused on right now is we're about to finalize a rule that will set the parameters for when a food can be called healthy.
Good.
And so when that rule is finalized, we're also going to then be working on a logo that a manufacturer can use on a food so that people can recognize that FDA has evaluated and said, this food meets the criteria for healthy. But we don't make food. Yeah. We don't sell food. And so we really need to be working with the private sector to get uptake, to get adoption, to promote the use of foods that meet our definition of what a healthy food is. And so we're talking about the public-private partnerships we have ongoing. Actually, in that session, I was talking with on the panel with Instacart, and that's one of the companies we have a partnership with, where we're working with them to see if they can help us increase the adoption of foods that are healthy.
Yep. No, I love it. And your team sent along some stats. I want to cover this because this is really understanding the impact of what this means for our country. So 37 million people living with diabetes, 96 million people living with prediabetes, and 121.5 million people affected by cardiovascular diseases. I mean, that's significant. What that does, the cost of that injects, first of all, quality of life dramatically lower for those people, but the costs that get injected into our healthcare system. And I don't want to sound negative because I love to be positive, but it's getting worse. And so we've got to take this, I love what you're doing. When I had this opportunity to have you on air, I jumped on it just because, FDA does play an important role here. So, talking about that, what role does technically FDA have in addressing the negative health trends and actions across the country?
Yeah, and so that's a great question. We have a role. It is fundamentally related to how to provide information to consumers to help them to make informed choices. That's fundamentally what our role is in the nutrition space. So the nutrition fact label, which is on the label of every food, that is something that our program is responsible for. So we're working on a number of ways to bring the information to consumers that they will find more easily understood and more actionable. So a healthy symbol. Yeah. You don't have to study anything. Right. You don't have to just, what do I want to avoid? You don't have to know anything. Healthy.
Yeah.
And it will appeal to people. They'll fundamentally understand what it is within a nanosecond of looking at it. Similarly, we're working on what we refer to as front of pack labeling, where we're taking information that's currently on that back panel. Yeah. Information related to, I'm putting it in air quotes, nutrients that we know people are consuming too much of.
Good.
Saturated fat, sodium, and bringing it to the front of the label with some information that lets the consumer know whether it's high, medium, or low in that. Yeah. And so it's information that, and we've done a bunch of testing. Over 9,000 people participated in a survey that we did. That the label that we're going to propose is a label that people understand. And they understand it regardless of their socioeconomic class, regardless of whether they're urban or rural. They understand when they look at this label, this is what I'm being told.
Right.
I'm being told about saturated fat. I'm being told about sodium. I'm being told about added sugars.
Yeah. No, I love it. And again, I think that, even when I had the event about 10 years ago, when I met Dr. Hyman, we went through the whole program around how, sugar really is not even part of our food labeling. In which how much sugar our food has, but it's left off. Is there going to be any progress in that, do you think, of when we talk about?
So added sugar now is part of mandatory food labeling. Okay. So if sugar is added to fruits have sugar in them naturally. We're not required to put that in it. Yeah. But if you add sugar to a product, it is now required to be on the labeling. Okay. And this front of pack labeling I'm referring to, added sugars is one of the nutrients that we're going to require labeling.
Excellent. So, you just spoke about it, but I think, what is the importance of food labeling? Obviously, we want to education and getting this out there and tell people, hey, very transparently and very succinctly and clearly, through even pictures and more data, I know is important. But what are you guys doing in that regard? You talked a little bit about it, but go on a little bit deeper there.
Yeah, so, I think that it's, what we want to do is develop labels that inherently don't require education. Mm-hmm. They speak for themselves. Yeah. So you don't have to learn anything. Yeah. You see the label and you understand what it means, and you can make an informed choice based on it. I think if we're relying on people being educated about what we're trying to inform them of, we've suddenly created a big barrier to all of us.
Right.
Education is really hard. It's really expensive. So we're trying to create labels that, as I would say, speak for themselves. Mm-hmm. They don't require you to have taken a training or really know what you basically understand what's being communicated through the way in which the label was designed. Yeah. And as I said, it speaks for itself.
So do you guys have a plan of a communication plan of how you can get that out there? Because, this is near and dear to my heart. I have a deep passion for healthcare, but also personal health. And again, watching this, I've been part of healthcare now and for 30 years, and watching this decline of our society in some ways. I want to keep, again, everything positive, but I think educating around food, fats, carbohydrates, trans fats is extremely important. Do you guys have a communication strategy? Are you guys building that?
Well, as I said, so for our healthy logo, our communication strategy is to work with private sector partners to increase the uptake of it.
Right.
And so that when a consumer sees this, they are attracted to it because they understand what it means. So it does not require a huge amount of education on our part. We are a rather under-resourced agency.
Absolutely, I know.
And we have, as a matter of fact, Congress typically discourages us from educational programs. Actually, they say the Department of Agriculture is responsible for nutrition education. And so we need to operate within that reality. If we're not given money to do education, we have to use what we've got. And so again, our healthy logo is designed to be basically self-implementing in that sense, that people don't need to know much more other than healthy is good for me.
Right.
And similarly, our front of pack labeling, our testing shows that people understand what this means, and they without having to tell them anything further. They see the label, they understand what it means.
Yeah. When will this be done? What's the time frame for this?
Healthy, we're within weeks.
Beautiful.
So that's very close. Front of pack labeling, we will be proposing a rule before the end of the administration.
Okay.
That rule will have to go through public comment before it's finalized. That takes a period of time. But healthy should be rolling out pretty soon. Okay.
Excellent. And so, I'm a big proponent of public-private collaborations. I love that aspect. What do you got? So I guess talking about that labeling, what are some of the pieces? Do you have? We have a couple extra minutes here. So what are some of the components? You said sugars could be a part of that. What are some of the pieces? Like, what are 4 or 5 pieces of that labeling?
So the front of pack labeling, the nutrients that we think we know, the data is unambiguous. That people are getting too much of these nutrients are sodium, added sugars, saturated fats.
Okay, yes, okay.
Those are the 3 nutrients that are going to be the focus of the front of pack labeling.
Okay, excellent. And we're here at Health. A lot of doctors here, care providers. What role do doctors play in educating, their patients about nutrition?
I think they play a very big role. I'm not sure that they're playing it that much. And just out of personal experience, my own and my own family, is it's just something that doctors don't spend much time talking about. And yet we know that diet plays a huge role in chronic disease. And so we've actually done some work to give doctors some tools, very simple tools about how to talk about nutrition. And it can be quite simple. Avoid these things, sodium, saturated fat, added sugars, and it's easy to figure out, how much there are in products. Eat more of these. The dietary guidelines, fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, meat, dairy, whole grains. So it doesn't have to be very complicated. And we've provided some tools that are available on our website for physicians. But I think physicians should be more involved in that aspect of their patients' health care, because it's so relevant to their patients' health.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think, again, I've worked a lot in the trenches here in healthcare and trying to create these, chronic care management models and value-based care models and risk-based models. Those models absolutely do perpetuate doctors talking about health, talking about medicine, food with their patients, because they want to keep their patients healthier. So, I think we do have a segment. It's growing every day. I absolutely agree that enough doctors aren't talking about it. Enough care providers are not talking about food, and food is medicine, and food is health, and what you can do to control your weight gain, your health overall by eating healthier foods. But we're moving in the right direction. We can move faster. What are some of the websites? So you mentioned obviously FDA, but what are some of the sites or links that someone can go to learn if they're a care provider?
FDA.gov and nutrition, nutrition after FDA.gov.
Excellent. Yeah, again, we're going to stay focused on this as an industry, because I think last 12 years or so, I changed my life. I was about 30 pounds heavier than I am now, but I went through some just life changes and business changes and decided, I'm going to focus more on my personal health. Lost 30 pounds, feel like $1 million, don't get sick. All those things that come with regular exercise, eating healthier, living a more balanced lifestyle. I'm a big proponent of that. A lot of my friends are too, and I'm an advocate for it. So, when I had the opportunity to bring you on here, I absolutely.
Then you get this virtuous cycle about how you feel. You feel better. Your energy's higher. You start doing more things.
You got it.
Keeps reinforcing.
That's right.
Each other. And I find when I exercise, I actually want to eat healthier food than when I don't
So
exercise.
true. It's so true how success begets success on that one. Absolutely
It's
true.
an interesting reinforcement mechanism.
And it absolutely works. And I highly encourage you to think my audience, they hear it, but I love the fact that the federal government's going to step in, specifically you and what you're doing and your efforts. I'm a big supporter of it. I'd love to have you back on air. I want to keep this message going. Are you going to be at HIMSS by chance? Do you think in HIMSS 25?
I've been hearing a fair amount about it today, actually,
Yeah.
while I was here. So we'll see.
I mean, I love
certainly
Health.
on the radar.
They're all great to me. Health, Vive are great conferences. But HIMSS, we broadcast from all these different conferences every single year. It's just getting out and it's just education and getting the word out there. So, Jim Jones, truly appreciate your time. Thank you so much, my friend.
Appreciate it.
Congratulations on all you're doing. Thank you. Well, that's a wrap. I just want to offer a note of gratitude to my dedicated partners of the weekly syndicated This Justin Radio Show and everyone that voted us 2024 Healthcare Podcast of the Year. Thank you so much to Roberta Mullen, my Healthcare Now radio producer, as she's been producing my shows and broadcasting my shows for almost 11 years now. Many thanks to my show supporters and partners, AMD and AWS, for all of their continued support, and certainly to Rich Scarfo and the entire health team for this opportunity to broadcast live each year from the health conferences, and this year from Health 24 in sunny Las Vegas. And a big thank you again to all of my listeners and all of my supporters. I'm grateful for all of you. It's always fun to do this. And please tune in as we broadcast these shows weekdays at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, 11:30 a.m. Pacific. As always, you can find me on my LinkedIn at Justin T. Barnes or track me on Twitter at HLTH Advisor and use the hashtag ThisJustinRadio so we can respond to your comments from the show. If you miss any of this broadcast and want to hear any of my shows, they're all posted at Amazon Music, YouTube, Spotify, Pandora, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Spreaker, and on the TuneIn platforms. And also, you can check out some of the new content that we published on the Thought Leadership page at justinbarnes.com. Thanks, everyone, and have a great rest of your day.